And we are live. What's going on, everyone's Talks with Kenny here today. We're going to be talking about the left's incessant need for the race narrative. So I was going, rambling through, seeing what's out there this week, and it seemed like race keeps coming up this weekend. I don't this week. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Like I would think the biggest issue that everyone will be kind of be covering is the things that's going on with the petrol dollar. Right, we just lost an exclusive deal for the U.S. dollar to be traded in oil for Saudi Arabia, and we already worried about inflation, and that's something I think many people should be concerned about. But what I'm seeing in the mainstream media is mostly people talking about race, especially culturally, right? Because I haven't been wanting to talk about the whole Caitlin Clark situation because I feel like it deviated from the core ethos of this channel. But I do cover culture stuff, and this seems to be in the minds of many people. And I love basketball. If you guys are new to my channel, I used to play basketball in high school. I still play pretty good today. I love basketball. I think I'll put my two sons in there. Oh, shout out to my youngest son. He turned 1 today, so I'm very happy about that. Here's more to a healthy life to my youngest. And seeing all this stuff that's going on, is this necessity need for people to be the biggest victim in the room. Now, Caitlin Clark came out and she condemned anyone who tries to use her name for misogyny, white supremacy, all the stuff they label people who are supporters of Caitlin Clark. There's this narrative that Caitlin Clark fans are conservative, are racist, are Republicans. It's this smear job that the left is very good at. As you know, we rejoicing because a left-wing smear factory suffered a massive loss, which is media matters, right? This is something we know. This is a common tactic of the left to try to smear people and try to make them guilty by association. And they're trying to associate Clayton Clark's fans with people of like the deplorables. We don't want those kind of people watching the WNBA. And recent and reports came out that they lost $50 million. They're projected to lose $50 million because they already getting charter flights. They're already getting all these endorsement deals. Like people already they're spending more money before the money is actually in. So of course their cost is higher, right? But instead of focusing on basketball, right? Um, People are just trying to make I don't know. It seems like there's this need for people to want to be a victim. And I call this the race alibi, right? Thomas Sowell coined this term, the race alibi, that people want to use the fact that of their certain race. Oh, I had it harder than you. Oh, I had more obstacles than you. I have it harder in this life than you. And you guys already know my stance if you've been following my channel for a long time. My stance is my behavior decides my outcomes more than my race. My race is just the icing on top. The foundation is my actions, my decisions, my talents, and abilities. Those are what decides my outcomes for the majority of my life, not race. Racism is a minor inconvenience in many people's lives. That is an argument I'm willing to defend, and that's one of the hills I'm willing to die on because I don't think we facing racism like 1960. But I digress. I think I've been rambling enough with this setup. So let's hear some of the comments that Stephen A is going to talk about, and I'll give you some of my reactions after.
But there's a broader issue here that can't be escaped. And that is this. She is a white young lady. And she's been a magnet in a way that has benefited the league in ways that others have not, even though their efforts have been worthy and deserving of being as celebrated, if not even more celebrated. And it's a reminder that no matter how far we believe that we have advanced as a society, there's still such a long way to go because in the end, if you're white, you're bright, you're right, and as a result, the shine comes your way in the
Okay, makes no sense to me because if we look at the men's game, which is actually the backbone of the WNBA, because without the NBA, the WNBA doesn't exist, right? Women, white. Okay, the biggest stars in the NBA are black. Michael Jordan, the one who's been coined the one that made the game global, he was black. They marketed dollars way behind him. So you're saying that the players today are facing more of a setback than Michael Jordan himself? No, I'll argue they face less so. There's less barriers. They're getting sponsorship deals. It's just people are not watching the game. Instead of making it substantive, like when we try to make like I remember seeing commentary like when Shaq was trying to give them pointers, hey, maybe lower the rim. The WNBA players got insulted about that. Oh, why should we lower the rim? Yeah, I already got a warning for copyright. Why should we lower the rim for? That's insulting the game. I mean, women, you play with a smaller basketball anyway, so why not, adjust the hoop to your athletic ability? No, they want to play just as the men. All right, and now they have an individual that's bringing attention to the game, and they don't like the fact that she's a certain archetype. Like they don't like how they got the result. They want the result, but they don't like how they got the result, and that's a big problem in our league, in this league. And then he's trying to make the argument, oh look, it doesn't matter how bright, how white. If you're white, you're bright. That means if you're a white person, you're doing even half what a black person is doing, you're gonna get all the shine. You're gonna get all the attention. Maybe that was the case in 1960, maybe 1970, maybe 1980. All that was before my time. But in 2024, you want to sit here and admit to me that if there wasn't a black player that was playing like Caitlin Clark, let's play this game. I believe if Clayton Clark was black, let's say we made her a black girl, she still has the same skills. She has the same temperament. She still carry herself the same way. I believe she'll still have the same amount of shine, same amount of attention that she has. Actually, I argue she'll have even more attention because y'all won't be able to pull this race crap y'all doing right now. That's the argument I would have made. She'll be getting she'll be getting Michael Jordan attention much more. I agree with you, conspiracy theorita. I agree with the chat. Yes, she would get much more. You guys would love her. Y'all guys wouldn't be trying to say, "Oh, her fans are racist. Her fans are this. Her fans are that." You guys wouldn't be saying that, and it's because they want to perpetuate a narrative. And then I'm starting to get tired of this narrative. Like they keep bringing it up. This is a X post. How incredible it is that Stephen A. Smith and his band of racists. Because if we're looking at this objectively, right? Kenton Clark, in my example, is black, right? This is how I play this game. It's called inverse theory, right? If you want to test an idea for a sanity check, you always play the opposite of it. If she was a black girl with this amount of attention, would you be trying to downplay her success because she's a black girl? Oh, people only pay attention to you because you're black. Oh, people are always amazed what black people are doing with the basketball. There's a bunch of white players out here that plays way better than this, but because you're black, people assume that you're good at sports. That you got black privilege. All the black people, all the pro blacks, these people will be like, "Oh, y'all minimizing her game." Because she will help prove and validate their narrative. But right now, their narrative is not working. This is why they never want to admit DI into the NBA. The NBA is 78% black. That means black people are overrepresented in the NBA because if we're going by representation, the NBA has to be 66% white to be representative of the population that's actually watching the NBA game. But the DEI standards somehow they don't apply when it comes to the NBA. Now you got a girl who's not, she's not really a overrepresented in the league, right? She's a straight white girl, furious because all the named players are apparently black lesbians. Apparently, don't quote me. I don't watch the WNBA. I watch the NBA usually. But I'm tired of this narrative that people are trying to push out about Clayton Clark fans are racist. Racist. Like, are we tired? Like, I'm tired of people who always want to play the victim. Instead of making efforts, they want to make excuses. And this is how I take it. They're making excuses. That this girl's coming in and now they're trying to make it always because she's white. That's why she's getting so much attention. It's not because she's an actually good player. You got players out here mocking her, saying, "Oh, she's not a good player. Oh, all she know how to do is shoot threes and pass. That's it. What's so special about that?" Girl dropped 30 points one of these games. If you look at her career averages and you compare it to every player that's talking crap about her, she's doing competitively well. She got snubbed out of the women's team for the Olympics. No one's gonna watch her. No one's gonna watch the Olympics without her in being in there. But this is the hypocrisy of the left, and I think this is one of the this stream. You're gonna see a little pattern that I'm gonna show here because there's a lot of hypocrisy from the left here. Is because when you look at it down the middle, right? When you don't play their little special treatment games, hey, black people can't be racist. When you don't make racist ideas or when you don't make racist statements like that, the most racist statement I ever heard in my life is black people can't be racist. Why? Because they're black. Because they don't got power. Huh? Most white people don't have power. Most poor people are white. So by your own statement, white people can't be racist because white people, not majority of white people don't have power. They can't make rules in society. They can't make changes in society. Only the top 1% of the population can make rules and changes and influence the system. Oh, this country, it's catered to white people. But if you look at the richest demographic with the highest average income in the country, it's Asian people. Indians, Japanese, Chinese, Taiwanese. These people have the highest average income out of all racial groups. And then after I go through all the diaspora of Asians, then white people. It's about divide and conquer. I agree. Abraham Lincoln warned us. And this is how I test wisdom, right? That's wisdom. This is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is you understand something, you know something, you memorize something, done. Wisdom is you understand how things tend to be. If I understand, right? Hey, my behavior decides my outcomes, right? It's not my race, it's not my skin color. Sure, people will have prejudice against me, but there's people out here who won't like you because of your political beliefs. There's people who don't like you because of the way you talk, where you're from, the fact that you have an Android phone and not an Apple phone. People have all kinds of reasons why they don't like you, but that doesn't make you lose sleep. But for some reason, black liberals want people to validate their victimhood mindset. I don't know why. And I feel like this is a big distraction from big issues that's actually affecting us as Americans. So I want to point out because I'm about to get copyrighted by ESPN if I keep playing their video, right? I want to talk about how the Democrats are the party of the rich and the white, pretty much. Democrats are being the party of the rich could cost them the 2024 election. Now, this is, I think, one of the reasons why race keeps coming up in the conversation is because, in a way, it's their method of motivating people to turn out for them, right? Get them emotional, get them riled up, because they don't want people to sit down and think and be like, "Yo, I might vote Republican." As you see in the black vote, the black vote that's trending away from the Democratic Party is the young vote. Trump recently went out to Logan Paul's interview. I advise everyone to watch it, and I think it was a very good interview. And the young vote, and this is something I've been noticing even with Europe. I saw a YouTuber, he mentioned it, I forgot his name. He mentioned how many of the youth, many young people like Gen Z, younger millennials, are very nationalistic. And I noticed that too. And I'm a testament too, because I'm part of that demographic. And I'm slowly seeing a trend of young black people like my age, under 30, we're open to vote Trump because I believe Gen Z is the most moderate of our generation. I don't think Gen Z is overwhelmingly conservative. They're more likely to be conservative than a liberal, sure, especially with Gen Z men. And we're going to talk about that later about how, Gen Z men don't seem to be going on along with the Democratic program. But this narrative that the left needs, like, I'm gonna bring an example because there was a study I remember seeing how liberals are more likely to change the way they talk or their language based on the race of the person they're talking to. So if they're talking to a black person, they'll change the way they speak to so a black person can understand them. And this is my idea of, hey, limiting expectations, the bigotry of low expectation, the double standards, right? Liberals will sit here and chastise conservatives because conservatives say, hey, we don't want to see color. We just want the best person for the job. If you got it, you got it. We don't care about your skin color. If it happens to be overwhelmingly black, like the NBA, so be it. As long as they're the best players, because you care about quality. And this is something DEI advocates don't want to recognize or admit, is that you sacrifice quality of work when you implement DEI initiatives. They don't want to admit that. And when hard times hit, aka recession, they get mad when, oh, overwhelmingly, most people who are fired and lay off were women. Look at X/Twitter, for example. All the woke people were the first one to get let go, the first ones to get fired, the first ones not to make the cut, because no one's giving them special consideration based on their identity. And that's a big problem that we face in our country. And legitimately, the left cannot win. And then even the left admit it. They cannot win with a country that don't see themselves as different. Identity politics is something necessary for the Democrats to win, because then they can play special favors for select groups of people instead of making a general argument that'll fit the whole. And I think that's the Republican Party has to be, right? Donald Trump made it in his message about America first. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic. We want to make this place, this ship, this country the best place it could be so we all can benefit from it, because we're all a part of America. We shouldn't be trying to exclude ourselves. Oh, we're black. Oh, we're facing special problems that only affects us. Maybe your ancestors did. Maybe the people generations before you did. But eventually, you got to stop complaining and crying about what happened in the past and start worrying about what you can do in the present and moving on. Because I want my generation to be the last generation that's still crying about victimhood and racism, because it's a big distraction, right? You don't look at the problems like, okay, poverty. Poverty is a big one. Oh, generational curses. Oh, it's because we're descendant of slaves. This is why we're always poor. And I look and I go, okay, you come from a single mother household. Single moms are the poorest demographic in America. They're the most likely to be on welfare compared to any other income bracket, right? The government made a special income bracket just for them, and they're still poor, right? You're not going to get any generational wealth coming from a family structure like that. Boom, behavior. I just explained how behavior can give you a negative outcome from a generational perspective. Since the 80s, I believe majority of black kids were raised in an unmarried household, under a single mom. You see the crime stats associated with single motherhood. Your location, where you were born, has more to do with um your financial outcomes than your skin color. But black people still want to hold, oh, it's systematic racism. No, you just happen to be born in a bad neighborhood and you don't want to move out of that bad neighborhood. You don't want to adopt behaviors that will actually make you more economically successful. Because if you know one here's another behavior trait that I can make an argument that is not because of race that black people are at the bottom. If you don't talk standardized English, aka you do not talk properly the language of the land that you're located in, you will have limited economic prospects. And this is what's going on with the black community. Black community have limited economic prospects is because they don't know how to articulate themselves properly with standardized English. If you speak standardized English, you get made fun of. I'm a prime example of that. That's a personal anecdotal evidence of my life, because my parents taught me, hey, you better learn how to speak English properly, right? Because they didn't teach me to compete with just black people. I competed with everybody, regardless of skin color. I wasn't trying to be the best black student. I was trying to be the best student. And that's the mindset I think that a lot of black people need to start getting in the program with. But is my biggest problem is with these millionaires. Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a multi-millionaire black man still sitting here trying to cry and complain about to tell people that he's a victim. Black people are still a victim. Are you crazy? The WNBA players, they even though their league is losing $50 million a year. If you were part of a company that was losing $50 million a year, you would not have a job. But them, they get subsidized because of Daddy NBA that's taking the loss for them. So this is why they don't have no pressure to actually perform. And this is the kind of environment that these woke ideologies create. You get lazy, entitled people who think they're better than what they are because you don't let the results speak for itself. You got people like the NBA shielding them from the repercussions of them making bad choices. And if you do not suffer a negative consequence for making bad choices, you're gonna keep doing it over and over again. This is why they keep going at Caitlin Clark. Because they know their league is still gonna be here next year because the NBA is making money. The NBA is making enough money that they can afford to still give charity donations to the WNBA to make up for their $50 million loss. The bigotry of low expectations. And they wonder why they can't stand independently on their own. Laughable. This is why people slander the WNBA as the Welfare National Basketball Association. Because actions, the behavior proves the results, not your race, not your skin color. But I digress about how the left judge people based on their skin color. I want to show you guys a clip about two black conservatives who were in Detroit and a white savior. And this is something that in black conservative circles we joke around with when white people automatically assume you're a Democrat, which statistically, based on the bound of probability, they wouldn't be wrong assuming that. But here's Derek's personal experience and how they interpret how she came across. Let's take a look.
So me and Darrell were walking to the Blexit event, right? We're walking across the street, and this white woman comes up behind us. And firstly, she asks us, "Oh, is it always crowded down here?" Because we're in Detroit. Never been to Detroit before, but the first red flag was her assuming that we're from here. I'm assuming because we're Negroes. Then she proceeds to tell us, "Oh, you guys know Trump is here. You better watch out. I've seen a lot of white MAGAs walking around with the American flag. You guys be careful, guys." Hate crime. How do you feel about the hate crime?
I'm offended. I feel threatened. I don't know how I'm gonna go on with my life.
Little does she know we're on our way to the convention. So me and
So that was a funny story, right? White liberal just assumes that black people. Oh my God, Trump's here, making a villain out of him. Like not based on any evidence, not based on any facts. It's like fear mongering. They need black people because end of the day, black people always complain that they're in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party is because the Democratic Party do not want them to ever consider the Republican Party. Even though many of the things that Republicans push and try to highlight to them is actual problem for all Americans. Black people don't want to hear it. They want to focus on how they're the biggest victim. It becomes a competition on who is the biggest victim. Not who's actually right, not who's actually wrong, what's actually beneficial for our country. No, they just who's the biggest victim. Right? We should be worrying about the fact that America just lost its status, its unique status as the petrodollar, aka the oil standard. But no, they got you fighting over the fact that who's the biggest victim. I have a harder life than you. No, I have a harder life. No, and then you're fighting, and they're like, haha, look at them, they're fighting. They don't even know we're making dumb, incompetent decisions. The left like to call mega Republicans a cult when the way they talk to those black conservatives, doesn't that sound like a cult? Oh, hey, Trump's here. He gonna get you. What evidence you have to base that on? 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, nothing negative has happened to black people due to him being in office. Just like we can't blame Trayvon Martin getting shot during Obama's administration. Right? Oh, Obama brought in white supremacy because black men were getting shot. Like, make it make sense. But why they fearmonger over that? Because they know they can't win on the issues, man. So I want to show this video of Zuby talking with Andrew Cowler, and they're going to talk about how I guess they're going to discuss why liberals are hypocrites. Because I honestly believe liberals are hypocrites. They're very two-faced, very double-speak. They'll talk, oh, we believe that on the issues, we can win on the issues. Then when you bring up the results of the issues that they advocate for, how Joe Biden's energy policies has cost us $250 billion in GDP growth, right? We just lost the petrodollar because of the whole green energy agenda. And then when you point out the realities of climate change and how many of the predictions are exaggerated, many of the negative outcomes of climate change is exaggerated and how it doesn't really threaten human flourishing, they call you a name. This, I'm being serious. This is why the left needs the race narrative. The left needs the left needs identity politics. They need people to be emotional. Because when you're emotional, right? Have you ever made a good decision being emotional? I'll wait. Very rarely. I'll say 95% of the time you do not make good decisions being emotional. And this is the kind of mode that Democrats like their voters in. This is why they fear monger. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. But Biden's policy is weakening America's strength in the world stage. He don't care about that. They don't care about that because they're globalists. That's what they probably want. We recently found out that I think Vivek exposed it earlier, and we can like go back once we get some information from this clip. But we just found out we've been paying a national global organization with taxpayer money that finished blacklisting a bunch of conservative right wing commentators, aka people who disagree with the current thing. We're paying money for an organization to put blacklist hits on people who disagree with them on American soil. You're telling me I'm paying money to my government. My government is then giving money to an NGO that's somehow trying to put me on a list, but your job as the government is to protect me. How is this not extortion? This is a case where taxation is theft. You're stealing money from me to use my resources to come out and investigate me, smear me. Oh my God. But we're the liberal, we're laissez-faire liberals. We just want people to live their lives only the way we see fit. We want kids to have access to all kinds of books except the Bible. But God forbid conservatives go, hey, just like you say that we have to teach our biblical religious values at home, teach your transgender, let LGBTQ stuff at home too. No, we have to teach it in school. We have to give kids access to this information. Why? Rules for thee, for not for me. Because we have the power, we get to control the institutions. The biggest lie of the liberal is that they are about consent. They're not about consent. They're only about consenting for things that they want. They want you to operate in a certain parameter. That's the only thing they want consent for. They don't care what you do within the parameter. But then you step outside the parameter, they're like, no, 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 no. Because the actuality, based on the behaviors that I observe from liberals in my life, liberals that I see online, at least the at least the more progressive liberals, this is the things that I observe of them. They believe that you have the right to do whatever you want as long as you're not a conservative. You have the belief, you have the right to believe, to be anything you want except a conservative. You're only allowed to be a liberal. That's the liberal's ideal. If you become anything other than a liberal, they'll be smug towards you, condescending towards you, act like, oh my God, you're just so foolish, you're just so ignorant. Oh my God. Bleh. That's what turned me off to liberalism. When I see the people who call themselves liberals and how they carry themselves, and then it's like a date, when you find out a lot about a person is when you disagree with them. That's when you find out a lot about a person. Dating tips, sorry, unsolicited dating tips. I know I'm married. I shouldn't be giving dating advice. But that's something I used to do. I used to intentionally just disagree with a girl that I was dating just to see how she'll act. Because at their worst, that shows them their true character. If they can graciously handle a disagreement, I'm like, oh, hey, that's a signal of a good partner, a good friend. But if they show me, they disrespect me, act condescending, act smug to me because I disagree with something that they said, oh, that showed me, red flag. That's a red flag. Let me know if you agree with me in the comment section about that. But I digress. I think I rambled enough. So let's see this discussion.
You see increasing balkanization within the USA. So red states perhaps getting redder while blue states get bluer.
Yeah, I mean, there are a handful of people who leave the blue states and obviously bring their insane policies with them, but it's not going to be tolerated.
Yeah, I actually, this was like 2 years ago. I met, it was a friend of a friend, not someone I just met that day. It was a young woman from California who had moved to Austin, Texas. And I was asking her just about moving to Austin and what she thought of it. And she liked the fact that it was clean. She liked the fact that it was safe. She mentioned a whole bunch of things that are a result of somewhat more conservative government that she liked.
And before I let him continue, he made me remember something that I had bookmarked on my X post that I want to highlight now. Is that you know how the left likes to brag about, hey, crime is down. And I found this interesting angle. Crime is not down. Crime reporting is. 6,000 agencies submitted no 2022 data. 32% of all police agents, the LAPD and then the New York PD, the most densely populated areas ran by liberals, leftists, for the entire year of 2022, did not submit any data for that, which is skewing the perception of crime is down. Documented crime is down. But what about deaths? What about killings? What about victims? Right? And this is another thing that black people liberals don't want to admit either. Because when you say you want to be tough on crime, liberals, right? And this is why liberals are hypocrites. This is why liberals are the real racist here. They automatically assume black people. When it's like, if you don't do the crime, you don't do the time. It's like it's like liberals cannot piece together. Sorry, liberals, if I'm generalizing here. Progressive liberals cannot piece together the fact that if you don't do a certain behavior, you won't get a certain outcome. And just because it just so happens a lot of black people do a certain behavior, black people go to jail. They can't make that correlation for some reason. Or they don't want to make that correlation because then there's no room for them to come here and play savior. Oh, we got to save the black people from the racist conservatives because they want to paint a narrative about things. Honestly, I'm telling you, I was on my phone. I was trying to find a clip. Temple had an interesting segment about why Democrats are losing men. This is one of the biggest reasons because the Democrats are catering to this like Hollywood-esque like type of narrative they're trying to push out. Like, oh, you vote for us because we're the party that's trying to save democracy. Like we're in some movie. What? What kind of crap is this? This is why the left needs the race narrative. They're trying to sell a Hollywood movie script to all of us, and they want us to vote based on that. They make an imagination of what they think Donald Trump is, what Donald Trump supporters are. Well, they're a cult. They're a cult. Have you ever talked to a Donald Trump supporter? No. Are you friends with a Donald Trump supporter? No. All this based on their assumptions. But I'm supposed to believe that they're the most tolerant people. They're sophisticated. They're open-minded. Yeah, right. A group of people that's statistically more likely to unfriend somebody, disassociate with somebody. If they're a liberal woman, less likely to date you because of your political beliefs. They're not open-minded, they're closed-minded. But that's the hypocrisy of the left. They say one thing, but they do another. Like a wise man always said, right? This is what a father teaches you because Father's Day is coming up, right? The black community, black women, they love to be bitter on Father's Day. They love to trash their baby daddy on Father's Day. The left loves to downplay the importance of fathers, but this is something a father teaches you. Look at not what people say, but look at what people do. Your father was the one that taught you that lesson. Your father will tell you the harshest thing. Hey, you're not good enough. Hey, the reason why you're not on the team is because you suck, son. You need to go practice more, son. Now, all the women's going to say, oh my God, you're being so harsh. You're being so mean to your son and your boy. But you're telling your son the what? The truth. And he may not like the fact that you said the truth. You may not like the fact that you pointed out his flaws, his shortcomings. But you gave him an avenue for him to address it. He now knows the problem. Now he has an opportunity to fix it. And once he fixes it, he'll be better off on the long term for it. Essentially, that's what I'm doing to the black community. But the black community, they're so used to being raised by mom. 70% of black kids are raised by single moms. They're not used to such a direct critique like that. That's why they get so offended and mad whenever a conservative or whenever someone points out the fact that racism can't stop you, black people. This is why they get so, oh my God. Because they got no argument. And then when they argue the facts, you're looking at it like, yo, you just making excuses. How are you going to put your whole outcomes? How are you going to blame everything that happened before you were even born? And you're using that, you're piggybacking off of that to justify why you're at the bottom now. When those people who was in those circumstances, black people who are actually slaves, there was black people who were slaves, but they died millionaires. But you're a free man. You were born free. This is the black America. You were born free. And you're complaining about racism. When your ancestors were born slaves, got freed in between the life, and before they hit the grave, some of them became millionaires, business owners, had strong families. They didn't look at the white community and be envious of them. If the white community didn't want black people into somewhere, the black community was like, all right, screw you then. We're going to go build our own. Oh, the white people that want to help us, we'll work with them instead. That's the kind of energy black America used to have. When they ask me, oh, what makes you a conservative? I always joke around. I say I'm a Frederick Douglass conservative. Government do nothing for me. I don't want no one to do nothing for me. If there's mutual benefit, hey, we'll work with each other. Just like those historical black colleges. Guess what? If you look up the history of historically black colleges, all the colleges are named after white collaborators that helped the black community build them. But guess what? The black community at the time put up half the money to build those schools. You heard that right. Half the money. Ask black people in 2024 to put up half the money to help build up Jackson State University. They want to, almost curse, they want to complain about Deion Sanders going to a predominantly white school when they have as much or if not more wealth than black people in the past when they were making Morehouse College, Howard University, these historically black colleges. Black people had less wealth than black people today. But black people at the time was able to put up half the money with their white collaborators from the North, who were Republican, by the way, to build these historically black colleges to educate themselves. Because the black community believed in the do for self message. And the left, they don't like that message. They don't like a group of people that can feel like they can determine their life. Because the reality is, socialism is like slavery. Actually, socialism is slavery. It needs people dependent on them so they can have control over them. They can have leverage over them. And this victimhood mindset gives white liberals leverage over the black Democrats, the black liberals, and the black liberals don't even know it. They think it's power. Oh, I got power. We could get this white conservative, the white lady that said the N-word. Now she's out here saying she's a conservative. I don't know a conservative that just openly says the N-word like that. But hey, go ahead, sis. They're saying, oh, we get to cancel her. We made her lose her job and all this stuff. And I'm like, so what? She's not going to stop saying the word. Now all you did was make her more popular. Hell, you might have set her up. You might have just set her up for more money than she ever had in her life if you never did that, if you never reacted like that in the first place. But that's what happens when you're people that sees no vision. Hey, I'm done ranting. I know I went on a little philosophical rant, but that's the problem that I have with the black community, man. It's just how we respond to things. Like, this is why I say my message is not for like the older blacks that's older than 30 years old. It's for more people my age, because we need to change something. My dad told me this. My dad was like, yo, look, if you don't want your country to end up like how mine ended up, Y'all gotta go a different direction. And I see that opportunity with American First. I see that opportunity with Vivek Ramaswamy. That's what made me start this channel. I'm like, yo, no, I can't let my generation continue doing the same thing the older generation did. Black community been voting Democrat for 50 effing years, getting the same thing over and over and over and over again. Talking about how the progress has stagnated because that was by design. My biggest question, and then I'll shut up, and then we'll play the white liberals are hypocrites. What incentives does the Democratic Party have to actually change the situation in the black community? I'll wait. Because if the black community stays the same, if the black community never changes, Democrats are guaranteed 90% of the vote. Who want to mess that up? If it's not broken, don't fix it. What do politicians care about? Politicians care about staying in power. So do you think a politician is incentivized to do something that will better the situation of a voting bloc that is 90% going for them? No. All they'll do is give lip service, aka pander to you, but don't do anything that's actually substantive that'll actually bring you further in life. I already made the argument. Affirmative action does not help poor blacks. It helps wealthy blacks. Middle class and wealthy blacks benefit the most from affirmative action. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. And if you do somehow come from a poor background, you have so much student loan debt that you'll be begging for the Democrats, please. That's another form of, it's like debt slavery, right? Oh, Biden just relieved $120,000 of student loan. Well, majority of Americans don't go to college. So why are you making the majority pay for a minority? It's because that minority is in the pocket of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is using taxpayer dollars to bribe for votes. Slavery. Oh, I'll give you bread if you snitch on the other slaves for me. I'll give you bread if you act like my spy. Like sometimes I feel like being mean and sometimes saying that black Democrats are the house Negroes. Sometimes I like to say that, and I say like black conservatives, black Republicans are like the field slaves. We're trying to get out. We're trying to get out of the plantation. We're trying to do stuff. We're trying to do for ourselves. We're not trying to rely on the government. We're not trying to get special treatment like everyone else. We're just like, yo, we just want an opportunity to live on our own, to build our own ish, to build our own businesses. We don't need to just steal from the rich. Oh, let's steal from them and benefit off and loot off them. The government is the big house. The government is the house. Plantation politics. I think that's a good analogy of the Democratic Party. What happened when you leave? The black Democrats like Uncle Ruckus. Boy, you better get back over here. You better go serve Democrat, master. I ain't benefiting from these policies. You letting all these minorities come in through the plantation, aka the country. They taking up resources, not enough food going around. You better shut up. Hey, master's trying to replace you with these new immigrants. He's giving them more food than us. Oh, you living good because you're in the house. I'm out here in the field. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. Yo, but the analogy fits, isn't it? The analogy fits. The country's the plantation. The master's bringing in new minorities in, a new slave class, a new underclass that's more favorable to him, that's used to his style of things. He's giving them more resources, aka more food, at your expense. Those who's already in this country. And then when the field slaves, aka the alternative political option to the Democratic Party, are saying, yo, we can't sustain this. Shut up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make that reference, but let's continue.
But then she was hypercritical of the same conservatism, and she started railing about Republicans and this and that. And I was just like, this is so funny. the lack of awareness here to simultaneously be railing against conservatism and conservative policies whilst also being grateful on a human level for the benefits that they afford you, but the dots not quite connecting in the brain. I thought it was quite an amusing conversation.
Another amusing conversation with liberals is they don't really practice a lot of things they preach. Liberals talk about how there's nothing wrong with a single mother household, But if you look at a lot of Democratic women, like a lot of Democratic politicians, none of them live in a none of them have a none of them come from a single parent household. No, sorry, some may have, but none of them, all of them are in married relationships. They carry themselves very conservatively, like from the most part. It's like privately they act like conservatives, but in public they speak liberal. And that's something that I noticed too. Like there's a little hypocrisy there. They talk about how there's nothing wrong with out of wedlock births, but all their kids are born within marriages. I'm talking about Democrat women at this point. All of them in relationships. None of them are single mammies. Like this is the same thing too. Oh, I don't like the way they do things. But you like the results though. I like the fact that my husband can buy me a new car every other week, but I hate the fact that he's never home. You pick your struggle. Because this idea of having it all is a fallacy in of itself. And I think in politics, a lot of politicians push that message that we can have it all. Nope. It's a trade. You have to make a trade. That's why I laugh with the whole Donald Trump scrutiny. Oh, he saves me me tweets. He says mean tweets. So that's the trade we have to make. If someone told you, hey, your country can prosper, but the leader of your country is a brash, tough, sometimes may come across rude individual, would you take it? I said, hell yeah. It's better than a nice, kind, understanding, but he's incompetent in foreign policy and everything. Nah, I'd rather take the asshole, because the reason why the guy can be an asshole is because he knows he's actually good. That's usually the case. I'm just saying. That's usually what happens. The guy that has to be nice to everybody and brown nose, right? Usually, it's because he's not as skilled as the other workers, and this is his only way that he can maintain his employment, by kissing up to the boss. While the ones who's actually top performers, they know, hey, you fire me, this whole company's going down, because I push out 80% of the work. So he tends to get more leeway to being the asshole because he actually knows he brings value. And that's a dichotomy I think a lot of us fail to recognize sometimes, because politics is starting to become more like a theater, like an actor. Oh, we want to show kids a good example. Sometimes you got to show kids reality, and the reality's in. Sometimes, hey, it's not about like what do you think is right or wrong, son. Sometimes you have to look at the results and say, hey, what result do I want? And you should not care how you get that result sometimes. And that's what conservatives are doing. But the left like to criticize us for that. But these left-wing activists, they change their positions based on the issue, based on what's convenient for them. They never hold themselves to scrutiny. They never hold themselves to accountability. And this is why they get called hypocrites so many times.
Yeah, there's a lot of that amongst those people. And, they want to, they were all, look, they all wanted to defund the police, but they wanted their own escorts and attaches for security and stuff. It's all just sort of, it's all of it can all be condensed down to sanctuary cities. We're a sanctuary city. Nobody's illegal. No human's illegal. We welcome everyone from all diversities and all lands and all whatever. And as soon as the buses start showing up, they throw their hands up and yell, we're not prepared to deal with this problem.
Yep, they got every excuse of why they can't put their money where their mouth is. And that's one thing I noticed with liberals too, is that when they're here trying to virtue signal on me or something, or, oh, we care about black people, and I bring up an inconvenient fact, I say, okay, you say you care about black people, but did you know that welfare incentivized the breakdown of the family? And then once you go down the logic of how, hey, married people are less prone to poverty, so if you really care about the wealth of black community, you would push them to be more married, and then they'll push back against that, because the left hates the idea of expectations on an individual, right? The left pushed this whole like narrative on, hey, the expectations cause so much stress, but I'm like, yo, pressure makes diamonds, right? Pressure makes diamonds. Sorry guys, I'm typing on why they're losing men. Pressure makes diamonds. You can't keep the oh, it doesn't matter. You can't keep making statements, these soft statements like, oh, we shouldn't have any expectations. Then how, like, how can a society function? Because end of the day, an individual is not born by themselves. When you're born into a family, right? And I think parenthood really drives that home for you, right? Because when you're young, you're single, you don't have any kids, you have this idea that, oh, everything's about me. You only have to worry about you. You only got to worry about feeding your mouth. Then when you have kids, you start realizing, damn, my parents did this for me. My parents taught me. My parents kind of gave me the tutorial of the world and helped me kind of set me up to how I can go about navigating the world. Your family did that. Now, if you're all individuals, your family would have been like, you go figure it out on your own. And you would have said that was unfair. And this is the difference between a liberal and a conservative. A liberal think he's an individual purely on his own, while a conservative understand, hey, yes, you are an individual, but you have a responsibility and a duty to your family and at larger community because these are the people that helped bring you up, taught you, right? Because you wouldn't be the person you are today without their influence, without them informing you or imparting certain things to you. And you got to benefit off of their knowledge, benefit off the fact that they fed you, kept you alive, protected you. And now that you come of age, you have a duty and responsibility to pay that back, aka, hey, extend this country to the next generation. That's me as a conservative nationalist. This is the perspective that I wish my government had. This is the guiding principles for my preferable policies. Policies that would make the country better than how the previous generation found it. But for so long, since the 1960s, we've been declining. We have been handing down a country worse than it was in the previous generation based on the status of things. Gen Z, for most of Gen Z, they can't realistically afford a house. Millennials think they need to make $500,000 to have a good life. It may not be true, right? But Biden's not helping the case. Look at inflation. The petrodollar, once the markets start fully digesting that information, we're going to get hit with a bunch of inflation. Once these other countries start trying to de-dollarize, try to take the US dollar out of their stock exchanges, and that money start flooding back into our country, our buying power is going to lower again. Who that hurt? That don't hurt the people that's already established, that already had time to build up assets, and that assets prices increase along with inflation. It hurts the young people coming up who's trying to start their life, that's trying to build up their life. That's who it hurts. But what the Democrats want to talk about? Racism. Oh, joy. Oh, joy indeed. So I found the video that I was looking for because this explains why I think men are are moving so much towards the right. Because of this narrative that the Democrats are pushing. Oh, you have to be dependent. You're helpless. You can't do nothing for yourself. That's not a message that's very catering to men because men, biologically, we have this idea that we're heroes, right? All odds against us, we still won. We like to overcome tragedy. We like to overcome obstacles. And Republicans kind of have that message. That's what Trump represents anyway. And the left kind of represents this narrative, this message of helplessness. You're weak. You need to be saved, which to me comes across more feminine. This is why I think they have a lot of single women that's why they attract a lot of single women to vote for them. And I think that's another reason why the black woman vote is so loyal to the Democratic Party is because majority of these black women they tend to be single. Black women are the most single, least married group of women in America. Don't shoot me. I'm just stating the facts. So they make up a big voting block for the single women vote. This is why the Democrats are winning with single women. Because they put out this more, oh, we're here to save you. We're here to take care of you. Oh my God. They come out of such an empathy carrying motion. And I think this is what turns off a lot of men. College women has transformed party politics. And I want to hear a little snippet from Tim. And then I'll go on to the next topic to end off the stream because I'm only planning to do this for an hour.
Have Democrats given up on men? We saw this story yesterday when we were talking about how the political parties are basically breaking down between women and men. If you look at the United States and how women vote, overwhelmingly Democrat. If only women voted in this country, blue. If only men voted in this country, 95% red. Unfortunately, you got a lot of simps out there. But this is an interesting article. In a recent interview with the New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd, Democratic tactician James Carville lamented his party's refusal to appeal to male voters, saying, "If you listen to Democratic elites, NPR is my go-to place for that. The whole talk is about how women and women of color are going to decide this election." I'm like, well, 40% of the people that vote are males. Do you mind if they have some consideration? I saw this story and I thought it was.
It's the same thing with the black vote too. They do this all the time. Oh, it's because of black women. Don't Biden had won the 2020 election. And in my view, I'm like, black women, y'all still want to take credit for the fact that we got a walking corpse called Joe Biden walking around wandering aimlessly at G7 like, oh, what are you over here? Y'all want to take credit for that? This bruh. I'm glad hey, keep it up. Like, it's like, how bad does things have to be before people be like, yeah, we can't vote for Joe Biden. This is what happens when you have a divided country. Because in the day, we all saw each other as one nation. If we all saw each other as citizens, one country under God, we're all Americans, colorblind. I don't care. You're my brother, even though you're a white American. I don't give a damn. We both Americans out here. If we had a country like that with a common foundation, a common worldview, there's no way in hell Democrats will win this election. A nationalist, a patriotic American will be like, I can't vote for Biden. We can't keep putting all this stress on this elderly man called Joe Biden. Look at him. He got to carry the whole party on his shoulders, and he's 80 something. He's supposed to be retiring. Vote for Donald Trump to save Joe Biden from elderly abuse from the Democratic Party because they know they can't win without this man. Man carrying the hopes and dreams of all the progressive, socialist, Marxist, leftist. Only he can save the Democratic Party. Only he can win for the Democratic Party. Because if they put Kamala Harris, they know they're going to lose by a landslide. I mean, come on. That's why I said I don't need no more motivation to vote for Donald Trump. But Democrats keep giving it to me. They prosecute Trump. Then I'm like, hey, I can't reward you for using the legal system for your own political ends. I can't reward you for that. As an American, that's something all Americans should be able to agree with. If a Republicans leverage the court, let's say the Republicans went after Bill Clinton for paying his intern to stay hush about their sexual relationship while he was president in 1998. All of America would have voted against the Republican candidate and said, no, we ain't gonna reward you Republicans because y'all use lawfare to try to imprison your political opposition. No one would argue that. We make the same argument about Donald Trump paying someone $120 for legal expense, aka, hey, Michael Cohen, I think his name was. I want you to put this girl on an NDA because I don't want her squealing about an alleged affair I had. Okay, boss. Hey, legal expense. Okay. The Democrats, we got him. That wasn't a legal expense, Donald Trump. That was an election contribution. How? Because this was an effect for an election. If you wasn't running for president, you would have never made that payment. So you just disagree? And because you disagree with how he categorized his expenses, he falsified financial records. We got him. Alvin Bragg creating these novel legal theories that didn't exist just to get him on that, just to make that a felony. Because it was in cahoots. It was used to cover up another crime. What was the other crime? Not a leftist can tell you. The crime was, I'll tell you the crime, being Donald Trump. That was the crime. I digress, though. Let's continue with this because this is an interesting segment.
It's funny because you got this video from Harry Sisson. You know him, you love him. For those that aren't familiar, Harry Sisson is this like prominent pro-Biden 20. Well, how old is he? 21? 21-year-old.
The funny part is this guy would be the minority technically because most young men his generation lean right. There's less liberals than conservatives in Gen Z. Most of Gen Z is moderate. Like 44% of Gen Z is moderate. It's like 16% are conservative. And it's like 11% are liberals. So he represents a minority, and he's sitting here saying straight white guys between the ages of 18 and 29 I'm not white, but I considered I am straight. I am a guy. I am between the ages of 18 and 29 because I'm 28 years old. I'm voting for I'm voting for Donald Trump. I should never vote for Joe Biden. It makes no sense. Yes, it makes no sense to vote for a guy that lost a significant financial positioning of being the petrodollar that's going to set me up for a harder life in 10 years. You want me to vote for that guy? Bruh. This is what I'm talking about. No, like, this is why I encourage every person, if you ever become a parent, make sure your kids play chess. That's why I grew up, I played chess at 7 years old. It teaches you how to think long term, not just what's in front of you a week from now, a year from now. It teaches you to think like 20, 30 years from now. That's how CEOs think, right? This is why Donald Trump is able to make such predictions, and it seems like it always comes true because he just sees the trends. He sees what's in front of him. He observes his surroundings. Because you can't be good at business if you don't understand what? The market. So you have a fine-tuned skills of understanding the market and environment, what is needed. I didn't talk much about policy, but Donald Trump made a policy. I think he made a policy proposal about abolishing income tax. And he wanted to fund the government using tariffs only because we import a lot of stuff. Like, we import a lot of stuff. And I don't know how the numbers will shake out, but that's a good approach. That sounds like a good policy. Imagine you being able to keep 100% of your paycheck. Oh my God. I bet you that'll help a lot with what's going on in this economy right now. Great idea by Donald Trump because Donald Trump, he's a businessman. He has a skill that no other politician has. All politicians know how to do is be, I don't know what's a good word to say this word, a prostitute. A lot of politicians know how to do that. A lot of politicians know how to be prostitutes, technically. They know how to beg for money. They know how to kiss up for money. But they don't know how to recognize, okay, what's actually going to help the American people? Donald Trump says, American people's going through a hard time. If I try to give them free stuff, it's going to cause inflation because that's the cost of free government benefits. Hey, how about I just cancel income tax altogether? Who's going to disagree with that idea? It's not a handout. It's just, hey, keep the fruits of your labor. You made 100%. You did 100% of the work. You get to keep 100% of the effort. And it should help you with this trying times because everyone's scraping by, hard to pay groceries because we're only getting, some of us, 80% of our check, some of us 70% of our check. If you make a lot of money and you live in a state with state tax, I live in Florida, don't have state tax, hallelujah. Y'all want to keep 60% of your check. Donald Trump says, hey, we're not going to take no more money in your pocket. We'll let you keep all your money, and we're going to take money out of these big corporations that's importing all these goods and services into our country. I like that. Hey, I kind of like that idea. And it'll make it more likely that a flat tax will possibly work. I can see something like that working. You get a flat tax, let's say a 10% flat tax, and then you get tariff tax. That'll lower the burden for a lot of Americans. And I think it will still create the same amount of revenue that the current government is getting right now. And actually, it may even get more revenue because people will be more incentivized to maximize their income because they get to keep more of what they work for. This is just a thought because I don't know how feasible that policy proposal is, honestly. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, chat. If you're watching this on the replay, the comment section. But let's continue.
Democrat who doesn't have Google. But that's one way to describe how he's got no idea what's going on. But I'm going to play a little bit of his video for you, and then we'll explain. Democrats don't care about men. Let me play this video for you.
It's always crazy to me when I see like straight white guys between the ages of 18 and 29, like myself, supporting Donald Trump because, like, do you guys not realize how bad a Trump victory would be for you? Does that not click?
Okay. I just finished explaining how a Biden victory would doom us all. Like, we just saw him lose the petrodollar. You're expecting inflation to come in. Biden in 2022, 2021, I forgot, 2022, he had the highest inflation in 40 years, which is killing us right now. We getting cooked right now. Democrat, this guy is saying, let Biden cook. We like, nah, we don't need Biden cooking no more. Biden been cooking already. Hey, we good. We good here. He cooking with inflation. We don't need no more of that, please. He think we're insane. When he doesn't realize he's speaking from a position as the minority. I'm gonna repeat it again. Gen Z men, 44% of them are moderates, 16% of them are conservative, 11% of them are like liberal. He's speaking from a minority perspective, but he's trying. It's the same narrative game. Like this is why the left needs the race narrative, right? They need to distract from the facts, like the evidence, the results. This is what they need. They need to distract from the results. This is why they need the race narrative. This is why they need us to fight about, oh, is Caitlin Clark fans racist, misogynist, white supremacist? They're trying to convince you of something then instead of trying to inform you of something. When conservatives talk, and this is something what gravitated me to being a conservative, I'm trying to inform you how I came to the conclusions I came to. When the left talk, it's like they're trying to convince you of believing something. That's why they omit facts that goes contrary to their agendas, their narratives, right? Oh my God, we're gonna die. It's the hottest year in 2023, and the conservatives come down and say, "Hey, it's only 0.2% high." I thought it would be like 20 degrees hotter or something. That's it. Exaggerating problems because they need you to vote based on fear, and everyone knows no human beings make a good decision on an emotional impulse. Impulse buying, that's what kills a lot of women's budgets. Impulse buying. Wives spend less money as a married guy. Wives spend less money with their husbands with them than without them. If I don't go with my wife, she'll come with like she's not too bad about that stuff, but she'll come with something extra that we didn't really plan for. But if I go by myself, everything on the list is exactly what I'm buying. Impulse decisions. And this is what they're trying to do. This is what the Democrats are trying to do. This is why they need the race narrative. And if you think I'm lying, a Democrat, I think there's a story, I think the Daily Wire covered it. I believe it said a Democrat senator admits that the Democrats need the country divided to win. I think that was the headline. You can go do your research yourself.
Okay, let's hear why that may be the case.
Like, if you have a woman in your life, a girlfriend, a mother, a sister, Donald Trump is running on taking their reproductive rights away.
Oh, whoa. Let's pause right there. How does that affect men? Let's talk about why so many young men are flocking to, say, Andrew Tate, top G. Harry, you really,
bruh, the lack of self-awareness sometimes from the left is definitely. Andrew Tate is a threat to liberals everywhere, all the leftist men everywhere. He has a lot of influence with that crowd, but this guy's going to pretend that, oh, if you have a sister in your life, a girlfriend, a mother, and Tim asks a very rational argument, what does it have to do with men? What it shows, abortion is like, hey, Trump is equalizing everything because if I can't kill my son, you can't kill my son. Like, make it make sense. We're about equality, right, women? This is the argument. Like, this is why leftists, like, they can't win the abortion argument, honestly. They can't because all they talk about is full of crap. Oh, women should have the right to choose who gets to live or die. Oh, really? Huh, interesting. So why is it that when the woman makes a decision to let the baby live, a man has to pay for it? Your body, your choice, my wallet, my money, my wallet. I get to decide what I do with the money. I should be able to absolve myself of parental responsibility. It's not as harsh as you, woman. At least the kid gets to live. This is the problem I have with some of the pro-abortion arguments because they try to make this ethical. Oh, it's about autonomy. But the men don't have autonomy in that relationship. You're essentially making the man, his rights are being decided by the woman. Because you want to make this argument, oh, it's not human. Okay, what about the person that helped you produce that? Why you get to dictate his status as a parent or not? And if he doesn't want it, you have the weight of the state behind you to extort him for money, suspend his license, keep him trapped in this country. He can't leave this country. Why you like that sounds authoritarian to me. It sounds like you want your cake and eat it too. This is why the abortion thing don't really sway men like that. Because men see it as, yo, you have more rights than us when it comes to that. But you about equality. This is why feminism is losing ground, especially with men. This is why Andrew Tate is winning the influence game with men. Many young men, my generation, we see Jordan Peterson as like the wise father. You know, he's temperament, he's even kill. But Andrew Tate is that, hey yo, pussy. Yo, like call you out on your ish, challenge you, push you, not take any ish. Giving that messaging that, hey, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to express yourself aggressively because you're a man. So what? Like, I guess he kind of makes it okay to be the villain, and men are trying to embracing that a little bit. But I digress. The left always finds something negative to say about people, but and they were complex people, right? So I'll let this segment go on like 2 more minutes.
Really got to talk to people, man. Because one of the big issues as to why men support Republicans in this matter is, let me see if I can find this video. I probably can. As woman enters. So there's a video. Let me see if I can find this. But there's a video where a guy is following a woman into an abortion clinic. Like she's walking up to an abortion clinic and he's crying his eyes out, screaming, "Please don't kill my baby." And then he drops to his knees as she shakes him off and walks inside to terminate his son.
How, like, listen to that. But man has all the power in society. What? Bruh. That's grounds to I'll never be with you again. You kill my offspring. You kill your own offspring. It take a special kind of woman to kill her own offspring. That's what a fetus means, by the way. But yeah, somehow try to morally justify this. Okay. This is the only thing that Democrats can win on. Women wanting have the power to decide life or death for their offspring. That's going to drive turnout for single women. That's crazy. That's diabolical right there, man. But I bet you if she got pregnant by Chris Brown or some famous rich athlete, you think she aborted that baby? No. That athlete couldn't pay her enough money to give up that baby. And that's that's the age we live in, man. They need this race narrative, right? They're distracting you. The real news. Real news is, hey, let's listen to how, us losing our status as the petrodollar. I know I keep going back to the petrodollar, but this stuff, it scares me, bro. Because I just had to change jobs just to keep up with inflation and my rising cost. And now this stuff happens. I'm like, yo, inflation's gonna hit us again. And then I hear stuff about the feds admitting that they fluffed up the job numbers. Like, it's like they're doing everything in their power to keep Joe Biden in. Because I made, like, in my last live stream, we know Joe Biden is the figurehead president, aka he's going to take the fall. He's going to take all the arrows, all the criticisms. He's not even mentally aware to push back and fight against us. We'll push all our crap, all the things we know not a conscious man will allow us to do and get away with. No, but he's going to take all the blame. Biden is a scapegoat for the globalist, progressive agenda behind his party. And that's why we can't let Joe Biden win. Because Joe Biden's just a scapegoat at this point. He's a scapegoat for losing the petrodollar. He's a scapegoat for a record high inflation. He's a scapegoat for a poor economy that they keep pushing that it's a good economy. Garbage. But let's listen a little bit of Fried's take.
Here's my take. The most interesting outcome of the 3-day summit between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping got limited media attention. Describing their talks, Putin said, We are in favor of using the Chinese yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So, the world's second largest economy and its largest energy exporter are together actively trying to dent the dollar's dominance as the anchor of the international financial system. Will they succeed?
When they say, what are you trying to conserve? That's what I'm trying to conserve, our position. Because at the end of the day, if America was like, let's say, the seventh most powerful country in the world, you think we'll have as much influence that we have today? Do you think we'll have such a high standard of living that we enjoyed today? Possibly not. But we all benefit from that. If America's number one, we'll have the luxury to talk about and question whether a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. We can have luxury about abortion and all this stuff because that's a luxury. Sorry, that's a luxury. But when you're in the lower of the totem pole, you got hard issues you're trying to solve. You're trying to solve for poverty, starvation, people dying of hunger, people making mud cakes to feed themselves, people not making enough money. We already complain about inflation now. But you think leftists care about that? No, because they're about party over country. If you actually cared about, if policies was actually directed on bettering the status of, or maintaining the status of the America that we know and love today, the left won't make certain political moves that they're making now. You're spending trillions and trillions of dollars. You're printing trillions and trillions of dollars because of the fact that you can get away with it with the petrodollar. The petrodollar's gone. That means every time you print money, it has more inflation than it did last year. But what's his name? Harry Sesser, whatever, these TikTok influencers that being paid by Joe Biden to push his message. I don't understand how a straight guy who's between the ages of 18 and 29 can vote for Donald Trump. This is why. Because only people on the right are talking about this stuff. The people on the left, which is majority of mainstream journalists, by the way, they won't point this out because this is going to bring what? More doubt towards Biden, more negativity towards Biden, lower approval ratings towards Biden. If you're a person of the left, you don't need this information coming out. Another reason why the left needs the race narrative. A national story just happened. A guy held up a black superintendent from shaking his daughter's hand, his white daughter's hand. That was all over the news. Everyone knew what that was. But ask a person, hey, did you know that the U.S. just lost their exclusive deal with Saudi Arabia for being the only currency that you can trade in for oil in Saudi Arabia? Did you know that happened? A lot of your family members are going to tell you, huh? What does that mean? Should we be concerned about that? Yeah. You mad about how eggs is $10? I'm joking around, but you're mad about the price of eggs, aren't you? Yes. Well, it's just about to get more worse because we're about to have more dollars in our circulating in our system because now it's going to be less relied upon, less needed. And then we got a second world order called BRICS that's trying to compete with us, trying to buy up gold all over the place and put their dollar on the gold standard. Essentially making our making our dollars look useless. You don't think that's going to drive inflation for us? Like, I don't know, man. The problems I'm seeing coming down the pipe, man, if Joe Biden, because the reason why I'm so pessimistic about this is because I do not believe in Joe Biden's competency to actually properly deal with the loss of the petrodollar. He's still going to want to spend money. He just agreed to give support to Ukraine for 10 more years. Bro, Biden may not even be alive in 10 years, but he's making deals that long. I would have more respect if he said, hey, I'll give it 2 years. Whatever the other administration decides to do, that's their business. But he gave him a 10-year deal. 10 years. Now, I heard that presidents can still like renege on it, so that's fine. But still, you just lost another piece that weakened your currency, and you're still trying to send money out here. Ask Biden the last time he did something for something that benefited all Americans. Student loan forgiveness does not benefit all Americans. It only benefits a minority of Americans. 60% of Americans never went to college, never graduated for college, don't have student loan debt. That only benefits people in his constituency, aka it's a political bribe, which violated the Supreme Court order, by the way. But Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. You see why the left needs the race narrative? Because if you argue based on policy, based on merits, based on positions, they got a disadvantage with these talking points. So they got to make everything based on emotionalism, based on reactionary thinking. And they know the best angle to get reactionary thinking is race. Racism, those self-hating white liberals who have a negative bias against their own group, their own skin color, they're going to react to it. Black people are going to react to it. Hispanic people, they're a little whatever about it, but they're going to react to it. And everyone's distracted and no one's knowing what's going on here. But I digress. Let's continue.
The dollar is America's last surviving superpower. It gives Washington unrivaled economic and political muscle. It can slap sanctions on countries unilaterally, which frees that country out of large parts of the world economy. And Washington can spend freely, certain that its debt will be bought up by the rest of the world.
You hear that? Their debt will be bought up by the rest of the world. This is what the Biden's what's his name? Economic advisor could not explain to you on his video. This is the theory of modern monetary theory. The fact that the government can print unlimited money and it will not cause any negative detrimental effects to the populace. But the reason why that's the case is because other countries are willing to buy up the dollar. But now there's less need for that dollar. So that means government spending is going to be a problem for any administration, Republican, Democrat. I don't give a damn. If I hear a Republican come in and try to spend a lot of money, I'm gonna be mad. We need to cut the government. That's why I was a big fan of Vivek. Cut the Department of Education. I'm about to go on another rant, guys. How you're the Department of Education? People are giving you money, and our test scores are dropping. Our kids are getting dumber. 76% of kids are educated in the public school system, aka a system controlled by the Department of Education. How our kids are getting dumber. How our test scores are going lower, but our grades are high, but our test scores are low. Make that make sense. Usually you think if you put more resources into something, you get more of a benefit out of it. But this is what happens when you have a government that don't feel any repercussions for getting stuff wrong. And that's one of the major reasons why government should not be involved in private affairs, because they have no incentive to make correct decisions, because they face no direct consequence when they get something wrong. That's the big problem with government. Government doesn't have an accurate way of assessing their impact on the economy, on people, on society as a whole. You hear what they just said. The only way we're getting away with all this spending is because the other people are buying the dollar. What happened when they stopped buying the dollar? Because now they can just use their own currency to get the money, get the oil from Saudi Arabia. The BRICS alliance control 80% of oil production. Kenny, we can just rely on renewable energies. False. Renewable energy has been around for I don't know how many decades. And it only supports 5% of the energy infrastructure around the world. If you look at the cost effectiveness between oil and gas versus solar and wind are more expensive for less energy. Make that make sense. This is why there's rolling blackouts in California during certain periods of the year. Oil and gas is super effective because it's cheap and it produces a lot of energy to maintain the current lifestyle that a lot of people enjoy. That's what happened to Germany. Germany, we oil free. We got no fracking over here. We don't produce no oil. Then the war happened. They're like, fuck, we still got to go buy oil from Russia. We still got to go around the sanctions and, buy oil from Russia because it's about to be cold and we don't need our people dying on us. We care too much about the feasibility, we care too much about the desirability of how a policy sounds versus the feasibility of how the policy will actually work. That's the problem we have in our politics. And it's up to these media heads to be trying to make the feasibility argument. But no, they keep pushing the desirability argument because they're trying to push a narrative. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done ranting. Let Fareed finish his take.
The war against Ukraine, combined with Washington's increasingly confrontational approach to China, have created a perfect storm in which both Russia and China are accelerating efforts to diversify away from the dollar.
But the Nikki Haley's of the world said we can do both, Kenny. We could be financially responsible and support all these foreign wars that we're getting ourselves wrapped into. Not the way the things are going now.
Central banks are keeping less of their reserves in dollars, and most trade between them is being settled in the yuan. They are also making efforts to get other countries to follow suit. The Biden administration has handled the economic war against Russia extremely effectively by building a coalition of almost all the world's advanced economies. That makes it hard to escape from the dollar into other highly valued stable currencies like the euro or the pound or the Canadian dollar, because those countries are also warring with Russia. What might have been a sharper turning point for the dollar's role was Donald Trump's decision in May 2018 to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. The European Union was strenuously opposed to this move, but it watched as the dollar's dominance meant that Iran was immediately excluded from the world economy. Jean-Claude Juncker, then president of the European Commission, proposed enhancing the euro's role internationally to shield the continent from what he called selfish unilateralism. The Commission outlined a path to achieve this. It hasn't happened. There remain too many fundamental doubts about the future of the euro itself.
And another side note, I think I mentioned this if you watch my video on the dollar, not the dollar, Russia excluded out of their economy the US dollar and the euro, limiting their impact, their sanctions on his actual economy. And guess what dollar dominated Moscow stock market? The Chinese yuan. So that way, the only way they can effectively actually hurt Russia is essentially to cut off China as well. But I don't know if you notice, a lot of companies in the US, they want to be in China's market. Look at Disney. Disney's out here removing black characters off of things just to be able to push their movies into the Chinese market. So you think the U.S. is actually willing to cut off China to get at Russia? This is why it was stupid of NATO to reject the Russian peace deal. Yes, you didn't hear that too. Today, apparently NATO rejected Russia's peace deal. Even though Ukraine is technically, on paper anyway, not a part of NATO. But NATO is talking on behalf of Ukraine, saying they reject the peace offering from Russia. Oh, yeah, a lot of people about to die. It becomes a war of attrition. But this is what happens, when people get you thinking emotionally instead of logically. Hey, a lot of lives already got lost. You are not able to win the land back. Save your people, fortify your thing. Anyway, those people were already close to the Russians. Let them have it. They let them, whatever. If they uprise, that's an opportunity to take the land back. But you can't keep sacrificing. Because my argument is, how willing are we going to go? Russia just finished going near Cuba. They do it every year, but they had to show off their latest and greatest submarines and ships. Russia just essentially did a show of force, said, hey, F with us, America. F with us. We already took your dollar out of our system. Your sanctions ain't going to do ish to us anymore. You got to hurt China. And then China, and let's say the U.S. decides to sanction China. China could then use that as an excuse to take over all the companies that are trying to build a foothold into the Chinese market. And then China can cripple all these economies, especially ours, because if you look at anything around you, you see it made in China. We have become very dependent on Chinese market. And then we try to, Microsoft, I think, try to go to India. India is part of BRICS too. Who's to say China will go into India's ear and say, hey, let's not, let's hurt this team right here. This is what Vivek was trying to warn during his presidential debate. But, people, what the mainstream media focused on when it came to Vivek, not the substance of his foreign concerns about how, hey, these things are pushing Russia and China together. We're forcing them into an alliance because we're becoming their common enemy. No. They don't want to hear none of that. They want to talk about how, oh, he talks too fast. Oh, he speaks over himself. Oh, he say one thing, then he says another. Oh, he's not genuine. Oh, he's a plant. That's what y'all focus on instead of looking at the substance of what he said. But I digress. I think I really I went off on this one for real. So it started off about race, but I know racism is just a distraction. Like they're distracting from real issues that actually affect all of us, regardless of your skin color. I don't care what skin color you are. If you are American, this stuff just scared the ish out of you. And if you do more research too, you start seeing how these guys are moving, bruh. You're like, yo, they out for our necks. They out for our necks. They ain't playing with us. But what we doing here? We got the mainstream media trying to cover fire for Biden, trying to prove that he's not senile, trying to gaslight us and say, hey, look, your economy is good, Americans. Stop saying that you feel like you're in a recession because you're not. The same media that sat here and redefined what a recession was after we experienced 2 back-to-back quarters of negative GDP growth in 2022. Is that the same media? The media is not here to inform us. That's one message I want you to take away from this video. In the internet, we trust. That's what I'm saying. That's my tagline now. Trust the internet, not the TV. That's my quote. Talks with Kenny, personal quote. Trust the internet, not the TV. Because at this point, you learn more from the internet than some of these talking heads on TV. Because at this point, they're a paid distractor. They get paid millions and millions of dollars to try to convince you to believe something that is in their benefit and not necessarily our benefit as American citizens. We the people, right? We the people have to inform ourselves. We the people have to be skeptical of what our establishment, our government wants. The founding fathers warned you already. If the people are not paying attention, the government becomes like a wolf. And our government really wolfing on us right now, giving all this money to foreign aid. We wanted something for our borders. All we got was an executive order. Make that make sense. But hey, we got to address racism. Even though, in my opinion, in my view, racism is a personal problem. There's no institutional racism. There's no systematic racism. If you believe in systematic racism, what you're really saying is culture. Black people get handed out bad attitudes, bad attributes, bad habits, bad decisions, bad information, and they act on those bad information, bad judgments, and they get the negative results of that, and that's what's causing generational curses. Because black people ain't willing to change their behavior. Because they think it's part of blackness to show up late. It's part of blackness not to be professional. It's part of blackness not to talk standardized English. Associating with behaviors that have poor outcomes for any group of people. Hispanic people, if you don't know how to speak English, you limit your economic opportunities. Black people speak, Ebonics, and you think you'll get a high-paying job speaking Ebonics? No, you won't. And that won't limit your wealth. That doesn't kind of account why you have there's less black wealth compared to white wealth. Black people are so racist sometimes that they only look at white people, but they don't even know that white people are not even the richest people in this country. It's Indians and Asians on average. But everything's about, oh, look at the wealth disparity between white and black people. You fight for 7th place. The Asians are number 1 right now in this country. They're the most educated. They have the highest income. They have the highest marital rates. They're married at a 70% clip. And you're a single parent at a 70% clip. Married couples have less propensity to be in poverty compared to single parents. Your community has the largest share of single parents in its group. In the group in America. Is it no wonder you're the poorest? But they don't like to see that correlation. Because they don't want nothing to be their fault. Because end of the day, the reason why I believe a lot of these black Democrats like Stephen A. Smith, who are millionaires and still want to believe that they're a victim, is because they want racism. They use racism as an alibi, as an excuse to justify their place in life, to justify why it's not their fault. It's not the individuals in the community's fault. It's not their decisions' fault. It's not the fact that they make bad decisions is why they're in the bottom of the totem pole. No, it's because of racism. It's because of something that's not in our control. So it's not our fault. You see? That's what racism is being used for. Racism is just a means for confirmation bias. And that is the end of my video. That is the end of my rant. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I hope you guys found it insightful, informative, entertaining in some cases, but that's not necessarily the goal. I hope you guys like the stream. I hope you guys take care on the weekend. And I hope you guys spend time with your fathers today. It's Father's Day this week. I'm enjoying my time with my children. I hope you guys say Happy Father's Day to your father if he's in your life. If it's not, say Happy Father's Day to a father figure that's in your life. And I appreciate you guys watching this stream. Don't forget to like on your way out. And hopefully you guys take care. See you guys on the next one. Peace.